bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night to wherever you're watching this transmission. I want to welcome everybody, one and all, to Commonwealth for Common Folks. And before we kick anything off, I want to throw the disclaimer out there. We do not offer investment advice, and we do not know anything. We do not even know how to read. Well, I can't read. And this video should not be viewed by anyone ever because of its poor content. Thanks for watching, guys. Welcome to Commonwealth for Common Folks. And tonight we have a very important guest, and you guys know who the guest is, and we're going to call him out in a second, but I want to do some channel plug first for him, and we're going to call him on in a second. Let's go to full screen here so we could do a quick channel plug for him. And there is lots going on in everywhere, so let's get this out there. Guys, do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel here exists for a reason, so we could get people on here and to kind of, you know, be part of the show and kind of be part of what's going on. Also, guys, don't forget to, if you want to message me show tips, please send them on Instagram. Facebook has been blocking your show tips that you've been sending me, saying it's going against the Facebook algorithm or whatever the Mickey Mouse they're trying to say. Guys, Facebook, here's the Facebook fan page. We're sitting at 114,000 followers following the Mike Martins thing, but nobody gets my notifications at all. So anytime I put up something on Facebook, I'm lucky if I get one person see it out of 114,000. All right, guys. Now, don't forget to set your reminders for this Saturday. We're going to get Peter Leeds on again for Peter Leeds Unplugged on Mike in the Night. And he's got some very important things that he got in from Berlin that he wants to share with us. So we're going to leave that for next Saturday. Also, okay, here it is. Commonwealth for Common Folks, guys, next week's show. And here's Peter Leeds' channel. He's sitting at 37,100 subscribers. We could easily get him over 50,000 real quick. So here is his YouTube channel. I recommend for you guys to go there and subscribe. I know it takes a week or two after they come on the show, but let's get out there. And he's got the Peter Leeds helping you make money from stocks. And that's his a course that he's offering, and I think he's revamping that soon, or he's going to redo some of the audio he said earlier about that on one of his videos. And the Peter Leeds Academy here, and it goes on and on and on. And we're going to go on to, before we get him on the show, we're going to actually go into really quickly the Upthinking. We're going to talk about Upthinking for a while. So here it is. Upthinking, simply get more. Peter Leeds reveals 9 secrets how you could apply them. Save massive amounts of time, which was the most important part for me, was saving time. And I've been losing time. Instead of buying time, I've been losing. And let's just get him on right now. I've been speaking enough as it is. Let's get the man of the hour. And here he is. Let's put him on full screen. Let's get a round of applause for him with some cheering. All right, Peter. Oh my God, you look so good tonight.
You don't look so bad yourself.
All right. I got the Kim Jong-il haircut here, so I kind of want to hide that behind the screen here, but that's okay. So I want to introduce him as the king, or should I say his majesty, or the king of penny stocks, author and writer, bestseller, writes publications for a lot of major news outlets, and I'm not going to mention them all because there's way too many here. And today's traders dubbed him as the Phoenix Rising in trading advice. I give you guys Peter Leeds, and let's get some clapping. You're the best, Peter. Thanks for coming and making the time on like such a night schedule. You're on Atlantic time zone, and I thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. We've been meaning to set this up for a while, so I'm so glad we're doing it now.
Yes. Okay, so Upthinking. I kind of want to talk about Upthinking. You did give me a bunch of copies to give away. We'll be giving these away on Mike in the Night this Saturday when we do Peter Leeds Unplugged. And I'm going to let you guys know, and I'm not going to tell you guys, I'm not trying to, you know, make something big and like just trying to just talk the talk. This book really got me. It really got me. Hook, line, and sinker. It's almost like an adult's or kind of getting a good talking to. And I see it as breaking down your mind and restructuring your thoughts and rebuilding it to upthink in today. And I appreciate you writing this and taking the time to write this book, because there's the thought that went in it is not your typical literature that you read in finance and understanding the logic behind things. And if I had to sum up this book in one sentence, it would be like this. If I had to sum up the book, it would be Thinking spoke to me to a very up-to-date thinking with groundbreaking one-on-one perspective. Yeah. If I had to
that's
sum
really
it up.
nice of you to say that. I appreciate that.
Oh, no, it's good. It's good. And it's kind of like a blueprint to tear down your mind and rebuild it to upthink in today's world. So speaking of today's world, what do we think anymore? How do we think of, you know what I'm saying? What are you thinking? Like you seeing everything around it. We talked about this earlier. Nothing makes sense anymore, Peter.
Exactly. And this is worldwide too, not just in North America, worldwide. But it's like a lot of people, I mean, they're changing the rules. So what used to work and a lot of what I did to get to where I got, that doesn't work anymore. They've changed the playbook, they've changed the rules. So now you have to relearn everything. And most of the changes of the rules are dishonest and they're enriching themselves at the cost of everybody else. A lot of that's going on right now. That's why you're seeing tent cities. You're seeing a lot more homeless people, a lot more income insecurity. It's just becoming more and more. And these things don't get less. They just get bigger and bigger until they break, basically.
So they keep inflating this, and we'll get into after we talk about your book, but I want to get into a few things that you said on a few videos that you put up recently that I kind of want to re-go over, or is that English? Re-go over? I don't even think that's English. But anyways, we'll go over some of that. So after reading this book, I realized that in a way, the way it was written is like you almost had to write this book.
Yeah.
Like you had to write this. You had to get this information out.
It's basically taking a look inside my brain, and I'm giving that to anyone who wants to read it. And I truly believe this book will sell a lot less than my other books, of course, but I truly believe that anyone who really gets what I'm trying to write in this book, they're going to dramatically benefit from it. I'm not saying that to sell books. I'm saying that because it's true.
Well, it's true to the word because it's like I said, it's like a breakdown of your mind and then rebuilding it in today's way of thinking. And saving time is so huge in today's society. We barely have time to breathe. There's guys out there that they're single, they're living their lives, they have no family, and they're still busy. They're still completely busy. And they don't have time.
Man. It's a mindset.
The mind's going a million miles an hour.
It's like I say in the book. I say it's kind of like stress or guilt. It's a hidden thing that you can't really wrap your hands around it, but it's in your mind and it affects people.
Yeah, and this is the illusion that a lot of people struggle with, and it's been a lot of people have been having a tough time coming to grips with what's happening around them. Peter, tell us, how do you keep your sanity?
I don't know that I have. I got a kitten. You just gotta, I think that, and you'll understand this too, because why are you doing what you do? You know that you have a lot of ways to help people. People watch your videos, they learn things from you, and they help themselves, and you're benefiting from that. You have a purpose, and that's how you keep your sanity, because you can't take what you know and not kind of get it out there. You can't try and help people if you know what's going to happen. And so what you're doing, you're playing a very vital role. It's kind of like being a nurse or a doctor. You're so important to so many people. That's how you keep your sanity, because you're doing something bigger than yourself. That's the way I see it.
So now I want to ask you something, because I did see a few of your videos, and I see a lot of your videos, but I kind of cheated on a few videos to ask you some of these questions about your book, because after I read the book, that I realized I was more intrigued with it. So I had to go watch some of your back videos on it to try and find out. But this is all I've gotten from your words, that you wrote the book when you were in a fog.
Yeah, I had a hard time with this book.
Like you were kind of in a fog, like most of it came out and then it was just on paper.
I was trying to write stockology, right, and I threw it out, and I was trying to write stockology, threw it out again, and I keep trying to do that, and this book just kept coming up at me and just sort of presenting itself, and it became a point where I'm fighting trying to not write the book, and then I finally just allowed it, and it became what it became. And I think that it became something that I could never have put together. You just started and said, here's what I want to make. This is what it became, and it's something bigger than I thought it could have been.
Okay, because that's what it was kind of, yeah. And I also wanted to, we talked about this before, but the book was somewhat edited and some parts were removed, and a lot of publishers do that, so the book doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're working right now on Penny Stock for Dummies, or the Dummies Guide or Idiot's Guide to Penny Stocks?
Penny Stocks for Dummies version 3. And they're going to have it on the shelves worldwide by September. So this is for a dummies book that's really rapid, really fast. So yesterday all day I wrote for the book. Tomorrow all day I'm writing dummies book. Like, I have to come up with a bunch more content to put into the book. And then I've got other projects I want to get to after that. But that's my main focus right now. I'm getting this book out there to my editors. They'll put it together, be on the shelves.
Yeah. So someone's asking me, what is the book about? Well, here it is. Thinking, Simply Get More. And I got it here in my hands, and I even took out specific excerpts of this and highlighted specific pages in here of specific... Oh, and you signed it. All these books are signed, by the way, by Peter Leeds himself. And thank you for that. Now, I have a lot of highlighted in here, and I'm going to... So these are your different... So these are your... Basically, he breaks the book down in 9 different ways to basically... understand. So part one's understanding uncertainty, work smart, not hard. My favorite chapter, I think it was mirror thinking. Let me see if yeah, it is. Yeah, right here. Yeah, mirror thinking was one of my favorite parts. And you write it on, so this is how it's a mentoring book. You write here on page 139, you say, there is no shortage of people who will line up to give you the answers to just about any situation. Debts, diets, careers, politics, relationships. And they will they'll do that with complete confidence, even if they only stopped by to borrow money. That is a good one. Sorry, I have it highlighted here, so I can't read some of the words. So it's highlighted over some of the letters, and I can't make out. But that was a big one. And then you go on to say here, I've told people ahead of time that the pot stock glut called the Bitcoin top within days explained a recession was inbound before anybody saw it coming. And yes, you did. And I remember you made a video about that.
Mini.
Yes, you did. So there's a lot. And there's a lot of stuff, like it just goes into specifics and a different approach on viewing things. And I like on page 13, I like this part right here. Whether you're negotiating your art sale or arguing with your boss or even explaining to your business partners why their cut is appropriate, uncertainty is all around. It is their enemy. It's your friend.
That's also my favorite part of the book.
Yes. Uncertainty is your friend. And that's how we need to, I guess, cope with the uncertainty we're in.
Yeah. There's a lot of it around now, too.
Yeah, and that's a major issue. Guys, I'm going to leave you a link to buy his book directly. I think I have it here open. And I'm going to leave the link there, so if people want to pick it up, they're more than welcome to check it out. And like I said, I'm not a big book guy, but when I I've read quite a few, actually, quite a few financial books over my lifetime. And this one is definitely one that's going to be on my shelf. And I told you, my son is going to read this book when he's old enough, and he's going to read Lord of the Flies. Those are the 2 books he'll ever need in his lifetime. To get through life.
That's it.
2 books. That's it. Maybe 1984 nowadays.
But that's really nice to hear you say that, because a lot of what I do is I think back when I was a kid and there wasn't a lot of guidance for where to take your life. That's when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Kiyosaki. I read The Wealthy Barber, and I really benefited. I really got into those books, and I was so passionate about it that it's so cool to be sort of, I don't want to say that I'm doing that amazing as those guys are, but I'm on the other side of things where I may be helping somebody else that needs the help and they're just getting started. That's what I do this all for.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And a lot of the information that's in there is so life. And like I said, it's more, there's a good mentoring. There's good mentoring in there that we need a good talking to once in a while. And we don't get that anymore. Like as we get older, we don't get a good talking to once in a while, right?
Yeah.
and that's hard to find. And that's why what really reached out to me was that whole like father and son type of mentoring, discussing, and kind of taking that angle. So I wanted to throw that up there. I got a link out there, guys. Don't forget to check out. Someone's asking if you're related to the Leeds shoes subsidiary.
Sure.
You are? Yeah.
Sure. I don't know. No, I'm not.
Okay. So let's go over Investopedia by Peter Leeds here. You go over a few stocks here. Updates. So, guys, I'm going to leave a link for this. If you guys want to see some penny stocks to watch out for Investopedia here by Peter Leeds, check it out. It's up to date. It is penny stocks to watch for April 2021. Remember, Peter Leeds is the king of the penny stock. I'll leave a link there for that right there. Okay, so let's get into a couple of questions here. I got a few questions for you, and people are firing off questions here from across the Commonwealth. And, okay, so I'm just going to throw one sentence out there. And you brought this up on 3 videos ago. Bond market in turmoil. Please elaborate on your opinion, your view.
The bond yields spiked recently in the States and also worldwide. And every time you see when the bond yields spike, you're going to see a lot of uncertainty and a little bit of commotion. And the markets came down because of that. They got the bond yields back under control, but if the Federal Reserve starts instituting something like yield curve control, all that's doing is it's stabilizing things at the expense of just printing all this money, your money that they're putting out there, so that the purchasing power is declining, the enjoyment of life is declining. You're having less options as just a mortal person who's trying to invest in the stock market. You have less options. They're basically giving away a whole bunch of money, and you're on the hook for it. It's not their money. It's not their money. It's not the Federal Reserve's money. It's not the politicians' money. All the decisions which involves money is your money, not theirs.
And people are forgetting that. They think the government is giving them the money. No, they realize that kicking the can down the road is going to have to, someone's going to have to account to this.
They're giving everybody $1,000. They're here. It's a virus. Here's $1,000. That's good. When you need the money, you got to do that kind of thing. But they overused it. They used it way too liberally when we didn't have an emergency like a massive pandemic. And what's happening with that? They give $1,000. That's a liability. That's now $1,000 in debt that your government has. So yeah, you have $1,000 in your hand, but there's a lot more debt that you're on the hook for. You don't have to pay back the debt. It's just that it won't get paid back, and that means that the dollar's going to decline. All these things are connected. It all comes together. And that's why I always say my big premise is that it's all connected. Auto loan delinquencies, mortgage delinquencies, stock market, stock getting driven higher, even though most people don't have $500 to have in an emergency. They don't even have $500 as a family. But meanwhile, the stock market's going to the moon. All of this is connected, and my premise is that it's all going to start coming down together. When one thing breaks, a lot of other things are going to break in response to that.
Wow, that was huge. Okay, yield curve manipulations. Do you see that happening?
Well, like I was saying, if they try to do yield curve control, what that means is that they're just going to buy up all the bonds as much as they need to. They'll print up trillions of dollars to keep it that the bonds and the yields don't spike. And that in doing that, they have to basically create and spend a ton more money. And the Federal Reserve is now buying, IOUs of particular companies on the stock exchange. They've gotten way beyond their skis. They're way over their skis. This is not what they're intended to do. They're just changing what they're intended to do so that they can sort of keep things under control to appear that way, even though under the surface, everything is being chipped away at or rotted out. That's how I feel that the entire economy is going. And I've been warning about the economy for years now. This is not a healthy economy.
And you also mentioned first, before anybody else, and I'm talking before anybody else, that you've been hinting that Operation Twist might make a return.
It almost certainly will. They're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. Operation Twist, yield curve control, they're going to do every tool that they can have. They're doing negative interest rates probably soon. They're really pushing the interest rates so low. That's the only thing that's allowing all of these debts to build up. If you've got a low interest rate, it's a lot easier to take on too much house or buy too much car. And then what happens when the Federal Reserve loses control of the interest rates because they choose where the interest rates go and they can do yield curve control, but there are also market-driven interest rates. If you're another country and you want to borrow money from America, you're going to ask for a higher interest rate because you don't think you're going to get paid back, and you won't, but you think, well, I need more of an interest payment for you to give to me if I'm going to lend you that money. China's lending us all the money, and now they're stopping. And not only are they stopping, they're selling some of the bonds that they do have. That's going to be a problem. And that's why our Federal Reserve in America has to pick up that slack. Because if China's selling or not buying, then we have to buy that. Because otherwise, that's going to be a problem if they don't keep picking up every single IOU that's out there, every bond that's out there. They have to buy it.
Now, we never addressed the problems in 2019. In 2019, I could arguably say we were headed towards some sort of a correction. You could see the unemployment rates. You could see it going up. You could see the U numbers in the employment rates. You could see the market starting to taper. You could see the housing starting to make some sort of a correction in 2019. You could see like interest rates are going to have to go lower. You could see that those first-time home buying programs for first-time home buyers were faltering. We couldn't get first-time home buyers in the market. And now COVID shows up. COVID knocks on the back door. We put everything on pause for a year. Are we going to start to see it? Are we going to start to see things come about from where 2019 was? Or is this just a massive melt up and there's going to be a big kaboom crash? Or do you see things tapering down and deflate?
What I said exactly on a video or two, I said that I believe that the focus was shifted to the virus. And so everyone's watching that. And as soon as people en masse decide, okay, now we're over it, we've got enough vaccines out there, we are not so worried about it anymore, that's when it's kind of like a buy the rumor, sell the fact. That's when I think that a lot of the things that were kind of wobbly a little bit, we're going to go right back to that. As soon as we're not worried anymore about something more serious or scary, you look back and go, okay, this is terrible. It's sort of like when XM Sirius satellite radio, XM radio merged, and it was like everyone's like, okay, the merger, they're going to save money, they're going to have less competition, and so the stock price kept going up and up and up until the merger did. And I was saying that's a buy the rumor, sell the fact event. As soon as they merged, and that's what happened. As soon as they merged, everyone said, okay, now there's no more merger date coming up, so that buying pressure lightened up a bit, and then the stock price just tanked, what, like 80, 90%?
80 points,
because
yeah.
People looked under the hood. They go, okay, so now we've got these two companies that have nothing on the horizon that's so good, and they're both $500 million in debt combined. you just got like $1 billion, $1 trillion in debt, and it's just it was just a matter of time. And I was warning, but you know, what are you going to do? You say it, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. So sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. All
right, so now I got a question here from Titania from Warsaw, Poland. She's asking if you, wow, it's early in the morning there. Can you please weigh in, Peter, on the GameStop fiasco?
Well, thanks for getting up so early, Tatiana, to join us here. And that was an example of just everyone is just getting over their skis. I think this entire market is upside down. People are making mistakes and they're still making money. They're making mistakes, they're still making money. And it's a melt up, like you said, in certain stocks, and especially the big ones like Google and Microsoft. And then you've got also at the same time, you got mortgage price or house prices going up, and you've got so much debt. This entire thing is fueled by more and more debt being taken on by every strata of ways that debt could be had, which is corporate. Cities have so much debt now, municipalities, states, the entire countries have so much debt because it's so easy to take on debt now and then pay it back. And it's all fine and good as long as interest rates continually go lower. GameStop is just one reflection or one manifestation of all of those things, those kinds of moving parts coming together and basically squeezing it higher when it never, ever, ever should have been anywhere near those prices. And most stocks right now, none of them should be at the levels they're at, in my opinion. And I'm wrong 100% of the time.
Yes, I know you're wrong. I know you give us that what do you call it, disclaimer. My disclaimer is we can't read. That's my disclaimer. So if you take advice If you take advice from someone that can't read, there's actually something wrong. But we're here to just to give advice, guys. Please do your own research, right? No one's perfect, and you know, we're just here. We're here talking and creating discussion, and that's how we get down to the bottom of things, right? So, okay, so we're looking at weak prices of gold, okay, because we got a lot of gold bugs watching tonight, and we got someone else watching off a different stream messaging me, yeah. So we got Egon that's watching us from Reykjavik, Iceland, who's asking, ask Peter about the weak prices of gold and how it's almost impossible to pick up physical gold. Why is that?
It has been very difficult to get physical gold for a while, so you should definitely be trying to load up on some of that now. I've got some physical gold, but the thing is that gold prices have been getting decimated lately. And a big part of that is because inflation is on the way. No question at all in my mind. And I think you might also agree with me.
Yes.
Inflation is coming, and that's generally really positive for prices of gold. And also, as the rest of the stock market starts coming down, then you're going to have certain pockets that are going to do okay. Most of my investments, about 90%, are all involved with things related to gold. As gold prices go higher, which I'm expecting they're going to go higher dramatically, I believe that that's going to really ramp up the profit margins of the gold mining companies, which therefore they'll benefit even more than the price or the increase in the price of the actual commodity itself. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is that they're not recognizing yet, they being investors, mostly in America. I don't know about most of the other places in the world, but in America, I know that they're not looking at inflation yet the right way because they're believing what the Federal Reserve is telling them, that inflation's under control, it's going to be transient, it's not going to be too great. They're wrong. They're wrong. They don't know what they're talking about, and they continually are wrong, and you can prove it. Go back to everything that they've said. Janet Yellen was the one who said recently there won't be another financial crisis in her lifetime or our lifetimes or whatever. It's right when she said it, I almost fell out of my chair. It was just ridiculous. They'll say whatever they need to say to keep the markets going, to keep everybody calm. Meanwhile, you shouldn't be calm because the entire economy is completely serving the wrong people, and that's a small portion of the people out there. There's a lot of benefit to a few and not a lot of benefit to the masses, and that cannot be sustainable. An economy cannot exist that way.
So we got a question from Mark Jackson from Alabama saying two of my favorite YouTubers on the same show. He's messaging me here through Skype, is asking, ask Peter Leeds about this crazy housing market. It's actually crazier than 2006, 2007.
Well, Mark, I just sold a house in Alabama like in November. I had it for a few years there on Dauphin Island. You'll know where that is.
Okay.
But I told my dad he had a house in Victoria, BC, and I said, it's time to sell. It's me putting my money where my mouth is. Like, maybe I'm wrong again 100% of the time, but there's no way that these house prices will be sustainable if the economy falls out from beneath our feet, and house price affordability is nowhere near where it's got to be if you're going to be a first-time home buyer. You can't afford a house. It's just ridiculous. The only thing saving housing right now is that a lot of people are moving out of cities and working remotely from wherever. So houses are obviously a lot less expensive if you move out of a city, and then people moving out, that'll help the availability grow so that there'll be a lot less, like the prices won't keep going nuts in the city as much as they would have because of all the people leaving. But overall, and just like with everything I'm talking about, I believe, in my opinion, that housing prices are way over their skis. They're definitely due for a significant decline. And like I say, it's all going to happen as one thing. All of a sudden, houses start collapsing, and then other things like more auto loan delinquencies or stock market investments or cryptocurrencies, they'll have follow-on effects across everything. I do believe that we are, and I hate to be so negative, okay, but I do believe that we are on the cusp of what is going to be a much more extremely awful time for society than even people like you and I have been letting people know about. Like, it's going to be very bad, I believe. I believe it's going to be very bad. Expect the worst, prepare for the worst, and hope for the best. That's the way you got to look at it.
Well, Peter, in your opinion, just what do you think is going to be the big shift or the big paradigm? What is it going to be? Is it going to be, do you think the housing market's going to let out before the stock market crashes, because a lot of people don't know about the big crash in 29. A lot of people forget that the housing market actually collapsed before the stock market did. And a lot of people don't know that. They actually think, oh, the market crashed and everyone, went home. And no. A lot of people were so heavily leveraged in the markets. A lot of people had no idea what they were buying, but they were just buying into stock because it kept going up, 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 and up. And a lot of people didn't know that the housing market, the fracture of the housing market in 29 was actually the leading cause to the market correction in the stock market. Now,
right. And that's a good point, because what you're saying is that if you go back then, most people don't remember it that way, right? But it could play out exactly the same way and people will be surprised by it.
Interesting. So let me ask you, what safety nets have they put? I know they deregulated a lot of the banking to basically run this criminal game and pony dog show that they're doing. They've deregulated a lot of things to allow the banks to get away with more crime. And we were talking earlier about Westpac. So guys watching from Australia, I was talking to Peter earlier about Westpac and the amount of fraudulent that they caught them doing in a short span of 26 million fraudulent or infractions. I think Lord Humongous knows the exact number, who's in the comments. It was 26 million infractions in less than a short period of time. That's like 400 a minute. Like, it's crazy what they've been getting away with. So do you think, how much of the deregulation of the banking system do you think is the cause of this problem we're having now?
A good portion of it. I think that there's got to be some kind of regulation. I don't like regulation, but there's got to be some that's with a consideration of, the average person, what's the best for the masses. But
right.
They'll regulate it so they can say they're regulated, so people are like, oh, okay, it's regulated. But the regulations that they're applying aren't to help us. They're to help certain interest groups. It's just the whole thing is just a mess. It's a mess. And I don't even have the same passion that I used to have to be in this whole stock market world, because there's so many things going on that I'm just watching going, and I know that nothing can be done about it. I can't do anything about it. I don't know that anybody can. And I just watch it and I'm like, that's not good for people. It's just continuous. This is not a fair game. They keep changing the rules. And I really feel for anybody who's trying to, get on their feet in this market. And I believe the worst part of it is that if you think it's tough now, it's not going to get easier. But there will be some massive opportunities. That's what I say. It's going to happen either way, regardless of what we talk about here. It's happening. And so then it's a good idea that you keep your eyes open for some of the opportunities, because, like I say, more millionaires were made in the Great Depression
right.
than any other time in history. And it's going to happen again exactly like that, probably a little bit louder.
Right. Because it's going to be, obviously, we're in a technological situation now where we could find things out within a second. We could find out in 2 seconds what's happening right now in Taiwan. We could log into a live stream camera in Berlin right now. We can know what's happening wherever it's happening within seconds, right? And you see, Napoleon was during the Battle of Waterloo. They had all those guys to race back to tell the people there living in London that they lost the war. And then everyone was, you know what I'm saying? And they started selling their stocks. And you see what I'm saying, right? Then the Red Shield came in and started buying everything up on pennies on the dollar. But besides the fact, nowadays, we don't have somebody running from the battlefield to give us the news a day or 2 days in delay. We could find everything out immediately. So the opportunities are there, right?
My favorite is my dad will bring me the newspaper and say, hey, you got to see this article. I'm like, I read that like 2 days ago. The dust off of that.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
Okay, Peter, we got a question here from Travis L. from Pompano Beach, Florida. Is asking, mortgage delinquencies, is that going to be the pinnacle or the event horizon that brings down the markets?
Here's my opinion, my honest opinion, is that the event that's going to bring down the markets is when we get over the fear of the virus. It's everyone's focused on that. You're worried about that. My kid's going to school, kid's not going to school. As soon as you take a breath, you go, okay, well, wow, that was crazy. That's when all of a sudden, because during this whole time, this economy's been getting worse and worse and worse and worse the whole time. It should have crashed, like you said. It should have crashed ages ago. People say, when's the stock market going to crash? I'm like, I thought it would have crashed 2 years ago. It should have. It's just they've found ways to give it unnatural long life. Let's print trillions of dollars, we'll lower interest rates, and we'll change the rules. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, hey, look, I got a massive house. It's worth so much money. But it's like, the house isn't affordable for the people who are intended to buy it. You need a certain portion of every economy to be first-time home buyers. There has to be a certain portion of that. And there's less ability for those people to do the job that they need to do to keep that economy going. That's why so many people are living with their parents, or they're getting roommates, or they're just renting instead of owning the house, all of that stuff. It's all connected. Everything's connected.
Peter, do you remember when we were young and when we were like teenagers? Do you remember when your friends would talk to you and they'd say, wow, you're 19 and you still live with your parents, and everyone looked at you weird? Do you remember that?
Yes. And
Wow.
the thing they're doing now, when they turn 16, they don't go get their driver's license as fast. When I was 16, it's like, happy birthday. They hand you your driver's license and you're gone, man. You're in the wind.
You're in the wind, yeah.
My kid's 17. I go, what are you doing, man?
Get a Corvette, get a car, man. Go out cruising.
It's because he likes me too much. I wanted to get away from my parents, but he doesn't mind.
Yeah, but for us, it's different. We live in a different time, like where I remember back in the day when I was young, my parents would come home. It's like, oh, Buddy and her are getting a divorce, and poor guy, he's got to go get an apartment in Chinatown. She kicked him out. He's moving into an apartment. Everyone's like, oh my God, he's moving into an apartment. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. He's moving into an apartment. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, yeah, everyone moves into apartments now. But back in the day, it was like, wow. Art and Soul is saying, by the way, Peter is adorable. And
hey, let me say something I just thought of, Mike.
Yep, go ahead, please.
We were talking about earlier when I said more millionaires were made in the Great Depression than any other time in history. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is an example of, some people say, I don't like the stock market, or I don't have enough money to get started, whatever. This is an opportunity that when things get really bad, that if you have a little bit of an investment, there's going to be a lot of really valuable things like, buildings with a couple apartments in it that you could buy for pennies on the dollar. And then when it gets back to normal, all of a sudden you've enriched all that value. And so even if you don't want to get into the stock market, there's going to be opportunities like all over the place, but not yet, okay? But not until the economy goes really bad. When it does, there's going to be opportunities as far as the eye can see if you're just paying attention and looking for them.
Right. That's a good one. That's a really good point. But the question is, like, in some countries like Canada, Australia, the problem, what I'm afraid of with Canada and Australia, heck, even parts of California, Oregon, and Washington, I believe there's going to be a lot of wealthy sideline investors waiting to swoop up these deals and buy them like in mass quantities, wholesale quantities. That's what I'm afraid of, Peter, that the average person can't buy into this market, and the average person, that was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, looking at this mess from 2010, is looking at it today. They're 25 today. And it's like, what the hell is going on? So that's the problem we're facing. This is I don't think this is... Now, how long do you realistically think this BS is going to go on with this twist, this Mickey Mouse, the artificial interest rates? We created a Frankenstein monster. Let's just say we created the monster. Now, when Victor Frankenstein created his monster, he didn't know what the backlash was going to be.
All right.
Now we've created this economic monster, and we keep feeding it. We don't know what to do anymore because now it's out of control, this economy. Now, let's call a spade realistically. The Roman Empire took about a good 100 years of its last 100 years in existence to completely get wiped out. Could this thing realistically, Peter, seriously, could this realistically go on for 10, 15, 20 years?
Oh, easily, yes. They're going to keep on doing things, and so that'll get people. But look, if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you're going to do okay. You're going to get into the right kinds of investments. Like I say, I'm heavily leveraged in gold-related investments. Right. And I believe that that's going to be, so if you pick your moments and you're right about it, you're going to do okay. But you just got to keep your eyes open, have an entrepreneurial mindset. If the mud hits the fan, you might be able, if you're looking to buy a house, I wouldn't do it right now. No offense, Stephanie, my writer who just bought a house, but I wouldn't do it right now because I think that there's a lot of risk. You're going to be a lot closer to it coming down than to it continuing to go much higher. And I've been wrong, and I know that they're going to print money. They might print $15 trillion and give it out to everybody. Yeah, that's going to drive the stock market through the roof. It's going to drive all sorts of things, houses through the roof. But what was the best performing stock market in the hyperinflationary crash in Venezuela? The stock market performed incredibly well.
Right.
And you couldn't buy a loaf of bread.
That's correct. Because
So they'll keep the stock market going, and it's just a question of how much damage they do to us while they do that.
That's the thing. And Venezuela. Okay, let's take a gander over at Argentina real quick. Argentina's been in 3. Some people argue 4, but I know for a fact it's reset 3 times in the last 10 years at 0. 3, and they still can't get their act together. So, I mean, like, if this could go for 10, 20, like, Peter, I don't even know what to say. Like, this is like, it's almost like we're in some super modern day enslavement. We're living in modern day slavery because debt is slavery to me. And that's why I refuse to go into debt. We talked about this earlier, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say. It's like, anyway, so we got questions here. We got Charlotte, who's in Seattle, and she's telling us that Peter, homes are selling 5 to 10% above asking price in the Seattle, Tacoma area. Wow. 5 to 10% above asking. She says most of it are foreign investors.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Seattle, the city itself, also has there. The city is just quiet. No one's really around the city, like the streets, So a lot of people are moving out to like Bainbridge Island and stuff. But that's just driving those prices much higher too.
Yeah, because people have like all the way down. People are commuting from Olympia, right? Like from way south, and they're driving all the way up to work in their tech job, and they're blaming the tech workers for this when there's 5 of them living in a 1-bedroom.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, we got a question here from Josh Almeida from Melbourne, Australia, is asking, what is Biden's economic plan? He states that he has millions of jobs with the new $2 trillion economic stimulus plan.
Well, shout out to Australia. That's my 3rd largest market.
Yes, hold on. Let me get a round of applause here. Hold on. Clapping. Okay, we got some clapping going. All right. Okay, so what's the deal? Like, what's $2 trillion?
I made a video ages ago that said no matter who won, Trump or Biden, you're going to pay way more in taxes. More if it's Biden than Trump, but either way, you're paying more. So now he's like going to do the infrastructure plan that Trump talked about, Obama talked about. Nobody did it. They just talked about it. He's doing the infrastructure plan, which is much overdue, much needed. But the problem is that you've got this whole infrastructure thing, and now he's saying, okay, we got to fund it by getting rid of tax loopholes, and we're going to have to sell infrastructure bonds. All of that is just different ways of taxing you because they can't afford what they said they're going to do. They're going to make it happen. They can't afford it. They're going to get you to buy your bonds to pay for it, or they're going to increase your taxes to pay for it. So it's not like I said earlier, the government's not paying for it. We are paying for it.
We are. And we're paying through the nose because what if we go into hyperinflation? Can't we just pay back our debts with overinflated currency?
Yes, it can be done. But the thing is, you're just going to have less and less purchasing power. So if you have a company that says, okay, we're going to bring some manufacturing back to America, and they manufacture something, they're buying parts from all over the world. Those parts are costing more, the input costs. So then you build the thing with those expensive parts, and then you sell it. So you might go to the store and you go to buy something at your store, and you're like, this is that expensive now. It's $30. It used to be $5. And then all of a sudden you got all this stimulus money, but it's costing you more to buy a loaf of bread and a case of water. And so you're kind of breaking even. And in the book, you remember I talked about the part, if you gave everybody $10 million.
Yeah, that's in, I remember that. I actually remember that part. That was in chapter, I actually almost memorized this damn book. I'm going to see here. I think I even remember that part. Hold on. Was it in the Blank Page Revolution?
I don't know.
I think it was in that part there. Yeah, I remember that specific part.
If
Yeah,
you
this
give
is a really good
everybody
book. We're going to
10
be giving out these books on Mike in the Night, guys. So we're going to be giving out. We got a couple of copies here to give out on Mike in the Night, and I'll be mailing them out to you guys to make sure. We got Stefan. Stefan A is asking, Peter, do you ship to New Zealand?
Stefan, we ship anywhere in the world at my cost. I pay for the shipping, okay?
Okay.
So you want the book, you buy the book, I'll pay the shipping, it'll be in your hands.
Okay. Would it be signed?
It'll be signed.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we got Sergey, one of our viewers there, who likes to restream my videos there and in Russia. He's out of St. Petersburg. He says, you're right, Peter. The lack of supply is driving Russian real estate prices higher, especially in St. Petersburg.
This is what I was talking about in my recent video. A guy came in here to buy this place, and I called my agent, and I said, where could I move to? And he says, there's no inventory at all. You can't buy anything. I can't even sell this place and move somewhere else. Not that I want to sell. I'm just saying, I was like, I don't want to sell the place, but if I did, where would I go? There's nothing. There's no inventory. That's what's driving up the prices between the most of the economic growth lately has been all stimulus checks and money that's been created and given to the people. It's like, look how good the economy is doing. It's all smoke and mirrors. As soon as everybody stops worrying about this virus and they focus on under the hood, they look under the hood, you're going to see that the whole engine is just rusted out and rotting.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Analogy of like a motor. Everyone just keeps adding gas to the car, but they forget that they need to change the oil, they need to change the spark plugs, they need to service the things, the parts of the car that need it the most, but they neglect that and keep moving forward with the car and then realize that the car can't go any further, right?
Yeah. Like if you don't have the oil, you can still drive, but it's just doing friction and heating up the whole engine and doing all this damage that you're not seeing. And one day something snaps and you go, okay, so was there any signs? And that's exactly what's going to happen. If this plays out as I expect, they'll be like, was there any signs? Could you know? And everyone's going to act like it's so obvious. Like, yeah, of course, because look at this and that and the other thing. But right now in it, everyone's talking about it's going to the moon. It's going to the moon. People have so much leverage combined with absolute massive complacency. That's the worst combination. This is setting us up for, and I'm sorry to be so dramatic. I've been drinking some Red Bulls to keep awake here, so I don't mean to be so dramatic, but I'm worried about the average guy. This is not a good environment to be growing up in if you're trying to get started. If you're in it, you're kind of, I just believe that there's going to be so much opportunity, and it's important to keep that in mind. Keep your mind open to the opportunities, because in my book, I even said about Michael Gerber, said that you turn your biggest obstacle into your biggest opportunity. What's your biggest obstacle? You said it's going to go on for 10 more years. So now you got 10 years to use this for a platform for your YouTube videos or to make decisions because of it that'll enrich you a little bit better. All of that. It's your opportunity. Find a way to make it an opportunity. That's a good way to deal with it, I guess, considering it's going to happen either way.
So we got some comments going through the live comments. Okay, where was this? Hold on, I was looking at that. Then was looking at you for a second there. Is Peter Leeds into cryptocurrency investing?
I was not, and then I realized I was wrong about it because I think that Bitcoin will be very much like world money. That's why when a country is having an economic collapse, a lot of times they'll put money into Bitcoin because they're losing their own currencies. But I made some, in a short time, I made some good money. I sold it and I'm out completely, not because I don't believe in it anymore, but because I decided, you know what? Why would I speculate? Instead, I'll pay back some debts. I owed my dad like $500,000, and now I only owe him $49,000 more, so I'm getting everything paid back. But also, never, ever, ever do I believe that any of these altcoins are going to be around 10 years from now. Not, it's just like in the book I say, sorry to keep relating to the book.
That's fine.
But 1,800 automobile manufacturers at the turn of the century, and now 2 of them survived. So that's exactly what's going to be like. You're going to have Bitcoin, you're going to have Ethereum, but I don't know that you're going to have Dogecoin or Beercoin or, I just don't see it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But now they got these non-fungible tokens or whatever. It's all a big mania. But I'm not saying that Bitcoin is a mania. I'm saying Bitcoin's a really cool tool that will be around for a long time. I don't know that. I think just right now though, the hype in the whole industry, I think that if you're getting into it, you're overpaying more likely than underpaying.
Right. That's what people are. That's the gist we're getting from the word on the street, right? So we
And
got
they just started,
Ralphie, Ralphie.co.New Zealand, who will be restreaming this transmission in his New Zealand section there. He has a question. Peter, is your book available in audiobook format?
thank you for that question. That's awesome because I had one vision impaired person who asked me that exact question. And I said, you know what? We're going to do it. And I was kind of contemplating whether I get somebody else to read it or I'll read it. And I just, because if someone else reads it, I just hire them, they'll do it. But if I got to do it, that's going to take a little bit longer. But I realized that I probably should read it in my own voice. And I was sort of looking through it a bit and reading parts. And it really is cool because I get to add emphasis and inflection and certain things where it should be because I wrote the book.
Yes.
So it's going to sound just awesome. But as I told Lady Jane, my girl, I told her before I do the audiobook, what I'm going to do is get back into some diction training. I blow up balloons to increase the strength of my diaphragm to do more resonance and stuff. And I do tongue twisters so that I speak really clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm going to do. When I practice that a bit, then I'll read the book. I'll just record it all, and then we'll have an audio program. So it's a long answer to your question. The answer is yes, we will have one. Just bear with me, give us some time. I got a whole bunch of things on the go right now, but I'll get to it.
Right. Okay. So he's saying Blunt News is saying he's right. Bitcoin is king. And let me see. We got a lot of comments flowing through here in the. Someone saying, Lux Report saying, Mike, you really did sell out this one. Sad times. No, I'm not selling out. I actually like the book. So start calling me a sellout. Anyways, no, I'm just joking. Everybody, you know, people see things from different angles. And that's what I learned about this book too. That's one thing I learned about that. And seeing things from a different side and making humor of some of the stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got Baron Von Biscuits. Oh, no, hold on. Layla from Egypt said something. She said something. I wonder if she's still in Egypt. Okay. She's saying here, in Toronto, houses are selling for $600,000 over asking. No red flags there. What is your opinion on that, Peter? A house is going $600,000 over asking.
It's self-evident. If you ask me, it's just self-evident. Like, obviously, you used to be able to buy a house for 600 grand. And it's like going over asking that much. It's just ridiculous. I get like when I bought this place, I overbid by 85 grand. But that's because I knew that I had to make sure to get this place because it was unique. But people are just if you do it across the whole real estate market, there's 100 houses sell and they all go over asking. That's a frothy market. That is an overreach. It's just not sustainable, and it won't be like that a few years from now, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In a few years, maybe a few months, but I said a few years because it's safer.
Okay, I'm just looking at the comments here as we go. Papa Piss is saying, why the hate? He's offering his opinion. You don't have to buy the book. We need new voices over here. That's exactly what it is. We need a new movement or a new, like you said, tear down the mindset and rebuild.
And let me say something too, because the book isn't cheap, but I know what it's worth. And that's why it's priced the way it's priced. But there's a lot of stuff that we have for free that will help people as an investor, not just the YouTube videos. We got a few free reports and stuff that just shows you all about the stock market, just because I want to educate people more than try and squeeze money out of everybody's pocket. If I want money, I'll get it elsewhere. Don't worry.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, I totally hear. But this is what, your third publication?
The book?
Yeah.
I wrote Understanding Penny Stocks, then I wrote Invest in Penny Stocks, then I wrote Penny Stocks for Dummies version 1 and 2. Yeah. Then I wrote Up.thinking, then I got to do version 3, then I'm going to do Stockology, which I've been trying to write for about 3 years now.
Yes. No, actually 4, because it's 2021.
Yes.
It's been 4 years. It's 2021. You forgot that, but that's okay. Real estate will come back down when people cannot make their payments.
Yes.
When are we going to get there, Peter? I mean, people are finding ways, but there are people defaulting. But then again, it goes back to what I'm afraid of the sideline investors. Peter, I know of some people, I know of some that have never been to Canada or have never been to Australia, but they own 300-400 properties here.
Well, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
They've never been here, but they own properties to just park their money.
This is how the anatomy of how a stock market reaches a top, in my mind, is that you've got really high complacency, really low fear. The VIX is just always tumbling along the ground. You've got a lot of free and artificial temporary influences, like all the stimulus programs. You've got really low interest rates, which continually get lower and lower. They tried to raise them a couple years ago for a minute. There's a taper tantrum, if you remember that, and it really hurt the stock market. They totally reversed course. They go, okay, no, we don't mean raise. We're going to lower now. We're going to lower. And they've done nothing but lower. And it's impressive that we haven't got to negative interest rates in America yet, but it's just getting closer and closer to that. There's no way we could have so much debt in existence if it were not for these really low interest rates.
Well, it's created these artificial bubbles, and it's turned cities across America, the blue states, the blue cities, like LA County. LA County, I thought it had 40,000 homeless on record. It has 66,000. Yep. The latest report on the Los Angeles Times.
That number's going up, too.
66,000, and you know what? They saying that like 5% or 10% have a degree.
Doesn't surprise me at all. That's the thing, because if there's a lot of people right now who are homeless today because of economic situations, economic influences. They're not homeless because of other reasons. They're homeless because they had a job and the economy went to shit, and now they literally can't afford to live anywhere. And there's a big proportion of the homeless population that will balloon. That part that lost their homes because of the economy, that portion of homeless people is going to balloon a lot.
Okay, so let me ask you, I got a question here I wrote down earlier. I kind of want to ask you. The Fed's new project is to buy less treasuries going forward to let the market kind of streamline, or to let the bond markets and the treasury market kind of streamline a bit. Let me ask you, who the hell's going to buy these treasuries?
All the treasuries are being bought by the Federal Reserve.
But they want to buy less.
They used to be bought by China. They're telling you whatever they think will calm you down. They're telling the investors what they think will assuage the markets, calm the markets down. But they just say this stuff always. They're always going to do that. They'll do it next time too. They'll be like, okay, now we're going to try Operation Twist, and everybody will calm down. But they're just trying to buy time. I had an impression that over a year ago I did a video that the Federal Reserve lost control. They don't know how to get it back, but they're trying everything all at once. They try this, they try that. If this doesn't work, they'll do that. If that doesn't work, they'll try something new you haven't heard of before. They'll make it up. But it's all just window dressing because they're trying to keep everybody calm. When the patently obvious thing is that the economy itself is completely wiped out. People don't have money for an emergency. People are losing their homes. You can't go to the store and buy like a big TV or a couple of cars like we used to do in the old days. Back in the 80s, people were buying everything. Now
they bought cottages, dude.
Fuck.
People that are watching this that are under 20 years old probably don't know what a cottage is. But a cottage is something that your parents would buy after they sent you through school, after your parents put you through school. A cottage is like a second property by a lake, and you usually have a boat parked there with water skis. People that are 20 and under don't know that because they don't know, people don't have disposable income like they used to. And a lot of people are single nowadays, and they still are having a tough time making ends meet. Like, I say that because I have 3 kids, right? So
when we were younger, everybody had a cottage. Everybody. My parents were one of the only ones who didn't have a cottage. Everybody had a cottage. Mm-hmm. It's just a thing that you did. And I don't think that if you're younger than 20 years old that they remember what a phone booth is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yes. Okay, so we got Layla from Egypt. She's actually brought up a really good comment here. She says, rates are already negative considering inflation.
Absolutely. And inflation, the headline number they'll tell you, the real inflation rate is dramatically more, and you can see it yourself when you go to get a combo at McDonald's. It's a lot more than it used to be. Anything in the grocery store, it's a lot. The price, you get sticker shock. But what they're doing, they're clever. They're saying, okay, inflation's only at this level, even though it's a lot higher. And they don't count real estate. They don't count food. They don't count fuel. And they're saying, okay, there's no inflation. That's what I'm talking about. They're changing the rules so that they can confuse you so you don't see what's going on.
Yeah, I got Jensen. I think it's Jensen. Jensen 114 from Anchorage, Alaska. He's saying that bidding wars are in small towns outside of Fairbanks and Anchorage.
Like, it's the same thing, man. Even in Alaska now, like everyone's getting the no inventory. Everyone's got all this extra, wind in their sails because the markets are going higher. Mm-hmm. People are buying houses because they keep going up in price. Eventually they won't. You just don't want to be too close. Like, you don't want to buy it right before it falls. That's mm-hmm. all.
I'm pretty shocked at that. So thanks for sending that in. Some people use handles when they message us, right? And there's no name, right? There's just a handle. So we got to kind of use that. As Peter, game over. Is China moving over as the primary world leader? China's fighting for supremacy, and they want to control the COVID passports, and they want to control a lot of things. Is China going to be the new America?
They've already done it. They're superior in military. They're superior in economics. They're superior in terms of the way they're willing to treat their population to keep them in line. And I don't think superior like a good thing, but they'll kill people if they have to. Look at what's going on with Hong Kong right now. And it's important to watch this kind of stuff. But, it used to be that America was the big military. We got a massive military, but China's got some new stuff that we don't even have it. Mm-hmm. And we can't dominate them. It's like a near peer, like they're an equivalent now. And I don't think that people yet are recognizing that, but that's what I'm saying. They're already there. They're powerful. You can't push them around. You can't go to the South China Sea and say, hey, you can't build islands here. They'll do it if they want. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's true. They are taking over a few islands. They're starting to piss off the Philippines. They're pissing off Vietnam. They're pissing off South Korea. There's a lot of things brewing right now, and
they're
there's
flying over Taiwan right now with boats. They're doing military exercises. Matter of time with that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a major issue. So we got. I'm just going through some of the comments here, and I'm going through what people are saying from everywhere, guys. Yeah, guys, there's a lot of people are mentioning here on another live stream here, because sometimes I multi-stream on different platforms at the exact same time. And okay, that's the Seattle question that somebody asked me. And okay, there's a good one. Hey Peter, they want to go green. They want to go green. They want to go green. U.S. Oil field services companies in the United States have added 23,000 jobs in March. What's going on? So that's a good question, because they want to go green. They want to go off the fossil fuels. I'm pro fossil fuels. I love oil, but basically they're adding more jobs to the oil industry. But meanwhile, the oil industry is supposed to be phasing out.
It's two different things. The oil industry doesn't care about any of this. They're just going to hire people and try and make as much money as they can.
Right.
And then over here, we're like, we try to be more energy conscious, and that's a whole different thing. And it's sort of like two different conversations talking past each other. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it.
No problem. So we got here, let me see what else we got here for questions. Guys, put your questions in the live chat. Papa Pissed is talking about how to destroy China when it comes to economics. And I'm just going here through the live comments. Looks like there's an argument going back and forth in the comments section.
Hey, let's get in on that.
Thomas is saying corporation are waiting for the foreclosures, and they will become the landlord just like in Europe, renters, and hand me down the house. Yeah. That's definitely, that's what I'm saying, the sideliners. That's what I'm afraid of. People, we're going to jump into these great housing opportunities. I just feel that the sideliners are going to beat us to it, and I already think they already have something in the works to jump in before we do. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Now here the like. Let me ask you something. The S&P 500 is in around 4K, right? Reinflation and higher rates might not happen now. If we keep, I don't see higher rates happening now like they were talking about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. They were talking about higher, but now the S&P changed. Things are changing in the markets, and their idea of reinflating the market may not, or higher rates may not happen now. What do you think, Peter?
It goes back to what I was saying about the law of diminishing returns, where Federal Reserve will say, okay, here's $1 trillion, and the markets go up, and they go, okay, here's another trillion. The markets go up, but not quite as much. And they go, here's 5 trillion. The markets go up a little bit. Like, they'll get a little bit less of a result from every action they take. And so you're basically doing okay, and it just will sort of spiral lower, where they'll try things, and it just won't have the effects that it used to. And I think that's sort of going to go in line with when everything kind of breaks down. It's all going to happen at once. They'll try stuff that won't have the result they hoped for, and they tell you we're going to do it, and everyone calms down, so they try it, it doesn't work. It's just a matter of, we're way overextended, and I'd be so cautious right now. I wouldn't want to be speculating on extra houses. If you want to live in a house, you got to own a house, buy it, but don't buy the cottage, don't buy the second house, and just be careful and prepare for what's going to come. And maybe I'm wrong, and I really hope I am, and people don't believe me, but I'm 100% wishing I would be wrong about this. I don't think I am, but of course, right? But yeah. The thing is that it's just, I think it's going to get so much uglier than people realize. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and people don't like me because of that, but what can I tell you?
Yeah, it is what it is. Now, we got someone here out of Pennsylvania who wants to remain anonymous. They are saying that works for the school board as a teacher and is afraid that there may not be a pension in the next 5 years.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Look, that's one of the ways that all these defaults, I was saying, we're going to have a big wave of defaults. A lot of businesses going out of business, and a lot of small businesses, which were never calculated, because you don't always necessarily start small business and then report taxes. They went out of business by the millions. So we've lost all that. But there's a lot of pinches where people think, okay, I put money towards my pension my whole life, and there's not as much money when it comes time to pay it out. They won't have as much money because there's a lot of pensions that are underwater. There's some that have some of the money, but not all the money that they took in. And it's just going to manifest in that way. When the mud hits the fan, one of the things will be that people notice, oh, wow, they're defaulting on what they said they're going to pay me for my pension. That's the type of thing that's going to happen. So you're expecting $800,000 and you get $200,000, that kind of thing.
Someone sent me a link to a article here from Better Dwelling, and they said, read this article, read the link, or read the title to Peter, please. So it's from Better Dwelling. It says, a large Canadian bank just blamed the Bank of Canada for the property bubble. We're going to enter the blame game territory.
Exactly.
Now, who do we... Who's going to win the blame game, or is this going to be going? How long is the blame game going to go on for? And who's going to be at fault at the end?
The people who'll be right about who they're blaming will be people like us, but the ones that are going to basically take ownership of it or cause it, that'll be like the central banks, and we'll blame them, but they won't take any slack from making bad decisions. We'll just take the brunt of it. We're the small people, we're the mortals. And we're going to, just like the 2008, 2007 mortgage meltdown, who got blamed was poor people and teachers.
Right. They blamed people that basically took on and over-leveraged, but they never blamed the people that wrote these mortgages, these jumbo loans, and all this Mickey Mouse, and with these interest rates that changed and didn't tell the people in the fine print, well, after a year, that 1% is going to change to 4%, and their total debt service ratio didn't fit, their TDS didn't fit, their CGS didn't fit, and guess what? They're in a gray zone, they fall apart, they fall off the map, they lose their property, and they have to wait, and they have to move in with family. And that's what happened there. So, Peter, how are you doing? You doing okay?
I'm doing okay.
You're okay to talk for a bit more?
Oh, yeah, I got a half a Red Bull. We can keep going.
Half a Red Bull, yes. Yes. Okay, guys, start pouring in your comments. I got the people talking here back and forth. The blame game, people laying in the streets. There's going to be no blame game. It's going to be homeless.
Yeah. And if you're hoping that the people who make the mistakes that cause all this are going to ever get a harsh lesson, that doesn't happen. It's not going to happen.
Okay, I have another article that was sent to me via Skype from Trent, who lives in Toronto. He's saying, read this one now. Toronto real estate prices rise more than half the median wage in a month. Dude, are you telling me to stay home and use my home as an ATM machine?
That's what people will do, right?
That's crazy. It's like I've never seen any like how inflated are how over, in your opinion, how overinflated are some of these assets? Like we're looking at about like a 60% inflation on some of these assets.
I believe that stocks, real estate, it's going to come down over 70% across the board.
That's a huge statement. That's 70 points is enormous.
It's happened many times in the past. It'll happen just like that.
But the question is, Peter, that we've been asking, and we've been asking on this channel, would they allow it to happen again? That's the question. Are we gonna bring it out like the Roman Empire and let it collapse for another 10, 20 years?
It's not about allowing it to happen, though. It's that's the problem. That's what I mean when I say that they've lost control.
Yes.
If it starts going the wrong way, they'll try stuff. They'll flail around. They'll be frantic, but they won't take the right kinds of actions to slow it down. It's going to do what it's going to do. Okay. Just like when I was talking about Sirius XM satellite radio combining, it dropped about 80%. It'll be equivalent to that kind of event in my mind.
Wow. Now, what needs to be in place, or this is a question I wrote down earlier today. What needs to be in place, or what is needed for the perfect economic storm to see a repeat of the crash of 29? What needs to fall into place, or what finally needs to give to start to see, for it to just say, okay, it's over, lights out, party's over?
Right. That's the perfect question for me, okay? Because I'm saying that everything's already set up. What has to happen? It already has. We just aren't yet recognizing it. And that's why, because we're all focusing on, you turn on the news, they're not talking about the economy. They're talking about this virus, right?
Yeah, everywhere you go, they're talking about this virus, hook, line, and sinker.
Everyone's looking at the virus worldwide. We've never been in this situation. This is a completely unprecedented thing. So you can't even look at historical precedents. It won't help you because we are in such an overextended kind of environment, the likes of which we haven't seen since 1929. And what happened then? Hitler came into power after that depression by a few years, 4 years to 5 years later. And it's like, and then bad things happen. When the economy goes to shit, bad things happen.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
so what you should consider is if you have somebody that you know who's elderly or needs some help or is going to need some help going forward, prepare not for yourself only, but prepare for them too, because you never know who you're going to have to help. And I think that's a really important comment to kind of keep in the back of your mind.
So I got a question here from somebody else that want to remain anonymous. This is more of a Mike in the Night question, but I'll ask it anyway. Peter, how long do you think this Covey facade is going to be held up for? Or when can we kiss Covey goodbye? I'm getting sick of it.
I think July. I think in July.
Oh, July. I thought you said Gillette. I'm like, Gillette?
I think that around July, sort of midsummer, I think we'll forget about it. And it sounds impossible to think that way right now, but it won't be an issue we need to worry about unless one of these variants goes nuts and it escapes the vaccine. Then we're all kind of screwed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mitch Madden from Portland, just outside of Portland, Oregon, is saying, my two wives were like used car salesmen. Both lied about the mileage. That was a good one. Then we got people are saying that COVID is the common cold, blah, blah, blah. And higher interest rates, Mike, then crash, then UBI. Is that a plan? Higher interest rates, crash, then UBI.
They're going to do UBI either way. They don't need the crash to do it. And the higher interest rates won't be something that they purposely do. It will be market driven. It'll be out of their hands. Rates just start going higher, then you get the crash. And it's not even going to involve the people who think that they can control it, like the Federal Reserve. They just think they can control it. They tell you that they can control it. They can't.
Well, they did that, with the repo markets and saying everything is fine, but they're calling it different names. Operation Twist. They're going to call it All in the Gang and Romper Room and Friends. And they're going to probably give it every name in the book. So that's that. Let's see here. Somebody wants me to ask you somebody from the UK wants me to ask you what you think of the lockdowns and the inability to protest in England. They're asking about the Kill the Bill. Right now in England, they got this thing where people are protesting in Manchester, in London, like all over, in Leeds, everywhere in England, they're protesting right now to kill the bill. And the bill is basically allowing police to do whatever they want. And like someone's asking, do you see that happening in America or Canada anytime soon?
I do. I think people have a lot of quarantine fatigue. I think that we've had enough to the tune of people are like, well, I'm going to take a risk because I'd rather not be quarantined, and they take a risk. But, it gets into politics too much. It's like that people think that if you say wear a mask, you're against Donald Trump, and if you don't wear a mask, you're for him and shit. And then they fight when they should look at fighting. They should just talk about the science. But a lot of people are making it like a political thing, and that makes it really difficult to talk about, because if you see something wrong against the guy that somebody likes, they're going to hate you till their last day. So I don't go near politics, and I think this lesson too.
Yep. And we got Ralphie here on the comments here from New Zealand says, I think this cove is going to go, it's going to be longer than July, Pete, especially in New Zealand. Just look into some of the new government-created jobs listing in New Zealand to see at 2030 is next on the way. So they're actually preparing jobs in, like, for example, in New Zealand right now, that's going to help with this COVID thing, and it could go on. Wow. So I hope,
And understand, July was like, I'm just being hopeful.
That's
and
fine.
Also
Yeah. No, me too.
Thinking about it. I just think that warmer weather will be combining with the vaccines at the same time. And then people are sort of just over it. They're just over it, And that's sort of why I say July. I have no idea. I'm not a virologist.
Neither am I, but I would like to say that next week this will go away.
Yeah.
Next week at this time. Someone's asking me here out of Washington, D.C. Mike, ask him about the White House considering nearly doubling Obama's climate change pledge. Oh, my God. That's like carbon tax. That's going to impoverish. I pay $160 carbon tax on to heat my house, on my gas, every month. So what do you think of that?
Well, I mean, if it's not that, it'll be something else. They're going to find ways to say, okay, here's what we're doing. A lot of it is because they can't afford what they said they're going to do. They're doing the bonds that they want, the infrastructure. They're gonna make a lot of noise, and you're gonna think, okay, they're doing what politicians are supposed to do. It's not gonna help anybody. It's gonna make it worse, and that's exacerbated by all of these years. The economy. I wrote an article, I think it was 2009, for the Congress called "America's Past the Point of No Return." And the point of the article was that we weren't past the point of no return, but if we did things right, we could get out of it. That was in 2005 or 9 or whatever. And since then, things haven't gotten better. Debt's increased. People are over leveraged more. They're less complacent. They're getting rewarded for making bad decisions and investing. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. There's more and more homeless people. And this is all an example of the things that could be completely reversed and made better if the economy was healthy.
Yeah, that's the problem. So now I see this whole climate thing is just to impoverish more of the middle class. That's this climate thing. How are they going to use money to cure the climate woes? Like you're not going to use money to magically disappear the climate woes, in my opinion, unless we get Al Gore's plane and fill up with cash and throw it into the sun.
Look, technology will get everything really efficient and clean. And it'll happen whether or not we have this whole climate change stuff. If the government got out of the way, we're going to go to electric cars. We're going to go to hover cars. We're going to have like all the best technology. The government gets involved. They step in the way and they say, we're going to do a bill about climate change. And then that means that this company has to do this and you have to do that and you have to report in this way. And all of this is just kicking up mud. That's what governments do. You cannot just let technology do what it's going to do with or without the government. They're going to make noise. Just ignore them. Technology will take care of everything. We'll find better ways to find fossil fuels and burn them, and we'll find better ways to use less of them. All of this is just technology, and technology is advancing faster than our desire to get to the end result that the technology is going to provide for us. I don't know if I said that in a bad way, but I think you know what I mean.
You're not saying it in a bad way. You make perfect sense about it, and that's the way we have to take it. And then a lot of people need to understand, you know, a lot of people didn't get where they are today, especially like successfully, by not taking criticism, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Mike, let me say, I can tell by the questions that your audience is asking, you got a good, smart audience, and I'm going to credit you for a lot of that,
But there's 40 things happening at the same time here on the side. So I'm watching these 40 things, listening to you, keeping going with you, and kind of keeping it all going at the same time. And Scott is saying, hey, Mike, you're the man. Keep up fighting the good fight. Then we got Baron von Biscuits from Transylvania saying that technology will imprison the people.
Okay, well, you've got the digital currency. That is going to be the single worst thing that's ever happened to money or currency ever. You'll give up all your financial autonomy if they have the digital currency for the Fed coin that they're talking about. If they do that, they're going to track what you buy, what you sell. They're going to track how much money you have, how much tax you paid, and they can just impose things on you. Like we're making 3% negative interest rates, and all of a sudden the money you have just starts declining. You're absolutely losing all autonomy if they do that.
I got a gentleman here from Dublin, Ireland, Ian, who is asking, they're thinking of going negative interest rates in other parts of Europe. A good percentage of Europe is now in negative interest rates, and they're looking at encompassing the rest of Europe and maybe towards other countries. Negative interest rates will be a global phenomenon going forward. And that's from Ian in Dublin, Ireland, who's watching us at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Hey, Ian. Yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, this is the way the world's going, and it doesn't even make any logical sense at all, but we're just going with it for some reason, you know, and it's like the race to the bottom I'm talking about, where every country is trying to drive their currency's value down so that their exports look better and they can pay down their debts more easily. And this is what they're all doing in concert with each other. They're all doing it together, and they're all just driving their dollars, their purchasing power down. So you want your dollar to be worth almost zero so that you could get the benefits of that. And that's what they're all doing at once. This is why the interest rates are just so low. That's a big part of it.
Well, affordability issues are spanning across Europe. And, you know, the average, like in some countries in Europe, the average person makes 900, maybe 1,200 US a month. So, and when you're living off, especially, I have a friend in Dublin, in Belfast, in Northern Ireland, he makes like 700-800 euros a month. And he's got not a high level, but a good, you know, and if that's not a communism, I don't know what is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let me just see here. We got other comments here. Oh, okay. Scott is saying, hey, Mike, I saw the wood garage go for $1.2 million in Toronto this week. You heard that right. No heat. A 10-foot by 10-foot garage, no insulation. Yeah, there's a garage we've been covering here on the channel that's been up on the market several times and sold and changed hands several times. And the garage sold for $1.2 million with no heat and no insulation and no running water.
Wow. That reminds me of the Dutch tulip bulb mania, where the tulip bulbs are in one day, they're changing hands in one day, or one's traded for a house. The same thing where you can just take a step back, take a breath for a minute and look at it and go, okay, there's obviously something wrong here. There's just in every aspect of the economy, it's gone too far. It's spread out in every direction, and it's going to, one thing's going to snap, and then everything's going to snap. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be ugly, ugly, ugly.
It is going to get ugly. So, like, I mean, I want to. If someone's asking what your thoughts on Amazon, do you see Amazon dominating? That's one question there. A lot of people are asking questions. I got another question here for about, again, Biden infrastructure. People asking about the infrastructure plan. Would it create more jobs realistically? And this is coming out of Ohio.
It'll create a lot of more jobs. It just
Okay.
won't create a lot of economic strength. It'll be better with the improved infrastructure, but it's sort of like a make work job where you have an employee that you got nothing to do and you're like, okay, you go dig a ditch, and they go and dig a ditch and they make money and they think they're doing something. It's not going to add a lot of value to what the country is capable of, if that's a good way to say it.
Mm-hmm. We got Al, I can't read that last, from India is asking, will oil, are we going to see a summer rebound in oil?
That's the one thing that, I don't know if you've seen in my videos lately. Yeah, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Yeah.
I'm having such a hard time calling oil. Like, not that I'm getting it wrong. I'm saying I'm not even going near it, because any one thing can happen that's going to send the price up several dollars or down several dollars. And there's so many moving parts that it's really difficult to get a read on it. And it's not a good idea to invest in something that you don't have a lot of clarity on. I don't have a ton of clarity on oil. There's too many moving parts, so I'm just avoiding the whole thing. I did say that if there's a big depression, that yeah, we're going to use less oil. Okay, so I was saying a trend to bring it lower, but also with all this money printing and the inflation, that's going to drive oil prices higher. So I'm just not going near the whole topic.
Okay, let me. I know this is more of a Mike in the Night question, but I'm going to ask you anyways because we're on the topic of oil. I invest in oil. I always have a little bit in oil because I'm always on the I hedge. You know what I hedge oil for? War.
Yeah.
If we have hot war somewhere, and it's not like I'm, in the Middle East is always in turmoil. So I've always have a little bit in oil because if I take it out, then we go to hot war. If I put money in oil, we don't go to war. So I kind of, damned if you do, damned.
You know what though works with that too is gold. If you have gold and there's a war, gold does really well.
Right. Historically, yeah, gold's always done really well during wars. So I got a message here from somebody. Somebody sent me a link. Let me open this link that was sent to me. Ooh. Okay, this was sent to me here. Let me just open this. Hold on, there's a video playing. Let me pause the video. Jobless claims preview. Another 680,000 Americans likely filed new claims this week. 700,000. Below the 700. New weekly jobless claims likely fell back below 700,000 last week after an unexpected rise in last March, with more rehiring taking place across the recovering economy. Wow. So jobless claims are actually look like they're not. Wow. So new claims are being filed. Jobless claims.
Every week. But the thing is, that's a weekly thing. But I said in my last video about this, don't watch the new jobless claims. Just, okay, it's alarming. It's just under a million. It's like, look at the total unemployed. And that number was about 20 million, I think it was, unemployed. It's down to 10 now. Watch the total unemployment. That's the one to watch, because you file first-time jobless claims, and you go get a job, you work somewhere for a couple months, and then you lose that job. Then you file unemployment, and then it'll count as a first-time jobless because you were employed. It'll count as employed, and then a loss of the job. So some of those numbers are a duplicate of a person, but also look at the big number. And the big number is coming down slowly, but it's coming down a lot faster now, but it's coming down from where it was a year ago, and it's only getting better. But you just don't want it to get too low, because when unemployment rate gets below 4%, and I was saying this when it was happening, it's not a sign of strength. It's a warning sign, especially if you understand what it means to be a business owner.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Yeah, no. I know. I understand. I totally feel where you're coming from on this. And back to the comments on YouTube. Layla saying, Peter has a point here. And Dan K, a billionaire controls the gold prices and silver prices, palladium and oil and gas exploration sprut. So Yeah, what do you have to say about all the gold and silver spoofing? And a couple of people have been hung out to dry with JP Morgan. A couple of others have been hung to dry for it because they have to set some sort of an example to show they're doing something about it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
realistically, where do you think gold should be sitting at an ounce? I think okay, let's look at silver. I think silver should be around in and around 400 to 600 an ounce realistically, and I think gold should be around 3,600 to 4,100 given the current inflation levels. That's just me. And if you go on the total debt clock American ratio debt clock whatever live, they say it's like 23,000 or whatever, like huge amounts. But I say at this current level we're at, what wages are at, I think gold should sit around 4,300 and silver should be 4 to 500. That's just me. I don't know nothing. What do you think?
I believe that it should be a lot higher, and I'm not going to say what prices, but silver, palladium, gold should be a lot higher. And right now, I can say with almost total certainty that this is an absolutely undervalued asset right now. And the best time to buy anything, as I said in my book, is when nobody wants it. Nobody's talking about gold anymore. They forget what it's for. Like it used to be such an important pinnacle part of the investment landscape. Nobody talks about gold anymore. They're saying it's an old relic and stuff. It's just going to do incredibly well going forward, in my opinion. And I'm investing that way, put my money where my mouth is. And if it works out, it's going to work out really good for me. And if I'm wrong, it's going to be pretty bad. But at least I'll learn a lesson.
You take the risk, you get the reward.
I'm going for that reward.
How's that Red Bull? Are you done?
Almost, man. I gotta call it soon, dude.
Okay, no problem, Peter. One last question. Let's see what we got. One last question. JP Morgan dumped a bunch of ASO after the market today. A $9 million share block dumped after hours. Did you know about that?
Did not.
Oh, well, JP, well, it doesn't surprise me anymore with what happens with these big, these guys are like countries, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
anyways,
they are bigger than a lot of countries. Just that one. Is that what you mean? You know, they're huge.
they're enormous. These corporations, these conglomerates, they're big enough. Like they're bigger. Some of them have bigger economies than some Eastern Bloc European, former Russian. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, Peter, you look like you're getting tired. We've been talking for a long time. You've been here for an hour and a half, buddy.
Really? Hey,
Yeah.
I did all right.
Yeah, you did really good. You did really good. And we're going to go a little bit dark. We're going to have you on, if that's okay, on Mike in the Night this Saturday, just for the first hour of the show, or first 40 minutes. And we're going to go a little dark. We're going to start asking, just kind of thinking outside the box. We're not going to go crazy that we're going to get, removed. We're just going to talk. We're going to talk. We're going to unplug. We're just going to look at, or you could have a rum and coke. I know you like to have 2-3 beers.
No, I do not.
And you could
Not
have
anymore with that scar.
Yeah, we'll talk about that scar, guys. I'm not gonna ruin it, but there was something going on, and a couple of wise guys. He ended up picking up a package at the airport that wasn't his by accident. It looked like his bag, but realistically, there was other stuff in there, and he got chased down. And these guys started to muscle him. They tried to get the bag back. We'll talk about that on Saturday.
Right on, man.
All right, guys. Peter Leeds, UP.thinking, simply get more. Thank you so much, Peter, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know how busy you are.
Absolutely my pleasure. Right on, man. Absolutely my pleasure.
I want to have you back on. We're going to have you back on Saturday for a wrap up, and we're going to go a little bit more talking about war. We're going to be talking about this economic depression people are in. We're going to talk about homelessness, fentanyl out of control, young families just falling apart. We'll get into a little bit more gloomier stuff, okay?
Yeah, thanks for leaving me with that when I go to bed. All right?
All right, Peter. God bless. Have a good night. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Care, man. Thanks so much, Mike.
All right. Guys, that's Peter Leeds, UP.thinking in the show. And, man, that guy is great. And I love this book. Like, I've read a couple of books. I took a walk down Wall Street. I read Rich Man, Poor Man, or whatever, or The Wealthy Barber. I think I've read about 50, 60 financial books in my time, and I really enjoyed reading this. And I got a few copies we're going to give away on Mike in the Night. I really enjoyed reading this very, very much. I've highlighted it. I've read it through digitally originally. And then he mailed me the book and he mailed me a few copies to give out to you guys. So we got Margie in the house. We got One Neo in the house. We got Alan Howick in the house. We got Jay Pastor in the house. We got Brother John in the house. A Fed coin backed in part by gold may work. Yes. Yes. Now I'm going to tell you of a stock I've been in, and I bought it on the ground, sold it when it reached peak, rebought into it about 2 weeks ago. Just stay tuned. I'm going to tell you of a stock I bought that actually is gold-backed crypto. Apparently that's what it is. I'm going to open it for you guys. Remember, guys, do not take any financial advice that I give. Holy crap, it's up 4 cents today. I got to check my portfolio. Anyways, here it is, folks. Oh, we got Ralphie calling in. I'll get Ralphie on in a few seconds. I want to show you guys this one stock here. There it is right there. This is the one I've been looking at. I bought it on the ground in Asia Broadband Inc. AABB. And Asia Broadband surpasses $1 million in gold-backed cryptocurrency sales for the first 2 weeks after launch and prior to marketing. Asia Broadband increases stock dividend for share. This thing has a dividend on it at 30 cents. So I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm not telling anyone what to do with their money. I just want people to kind of take a look at this stock because I bought it on the ground. I sold it, was it a week and a half or 2 weeks ago? Well, let me go here. Let me look at the last. Yeah, I sold it around here. Actually, I sold it too early. I sold it around 46 cents. I didn't know it was going to get to 58. Let's just put it that way. So this is definitely something I really, really, really recommend you folks look into. That's just me. I could be dead wrong. And that's why we basically do not know anything here. And basically why, you know what I'm saying? Like, just don't take my advice on anything. So what do you guys think of my Kim Jong-il haircut? Does it look good? Let me put it on a better screen. It's a Kim Jong-il haircut. I think it looks good. I think the chicks love it. I know, I'm going, okay, we got, Walking Journey in the house. Hello, Mike. When is B4T coming, video coming? That's, Walking Journey, there, guys. Don't forget to check out his channel. I'm going to call Ralphie back. Let me call Ralphie. Sorry, Ralphie. I don't want to ignore you. Let me call Ralphie back. Pick it up, Ralphie. Oh, no, I'm calling Peter back. I'm trying to call Ralphie. I'm sorry, Peter.
Hey, how'd it go, man?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm going to let you go. I'm so sorry. I meant to call Ralphie back on redial, but it must have called you. I'm sorry, buddy.
No problem, dude.
Okay, hasta mañana.
Yeah, take it easy.
Okay, we got Peter Leeds back on by accident, and I'm trying to call Ralphie. Ralphie, I didn't decline your call, Ralphie. All right, is it calling Ralphie now? I'm going to put the blame on. I'm putting the blame on Skype on that one. Sorry about that, Peter, for calling you back so quick. All right, Ralphie, you there?
Hey, man, how are you?
Sorry for cutting you off. I just wanted to talk about this one stock because it is a gold-backed cryptocurrency, and they bought a gold mine in Mexico to actually back this gold crypto stock. And I just kind of wanted to let people know it's on the ground level, it's 30 cents a share, and they're paying a dividend, and that's all I'm saying. What's up, Ralphie? What do you want to tell us?
It's important to have a flow on a radio station, but like just any warfare, we're reporting to the towers because there's fire everywhere, right? So I just wanted to report what's happening in New Zealand.
Please tell us.
Economy-wise and job-wise. Because, like you say, the beautiful thing about your show, by the way, Mike, is you're absolutely right. People see things in different angles. So that's why I always encourage new callers and things like that to call in, especially if they're at some sort of security clearance level, because there's a lot of, things, moving parts happening. And I loved Peter Leeds. He was great. Also, I saw Heiser Says was in the chat. He's one of my favorite personalities as well. So we've really become the think tank of this revolutionary movement. But there's lots happening in New Zealand. You ready?
Look, I'm right here. I'm listening.
Okay, so let's talk about jobs. What's happening? So a lot of people have lost their jobs. I'm myself am moving to something new as myself, and they're redirecting skills and talents to either two sectors in New Zealand. One is what's called underemployment or temporary agencies. So there's a lot of that happening right now, with many companies hiring all sorts of people on either a fixed term contract or permanent opportunity. I've seen this happen a lot in more prominent cities like London when I was there for a year and a half, because a city like London is very transparent. You know what I mean? There's a youth pool of every 7 years. There's always a new youth pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're either, so if you're under say 25, you're gonna either go into that. Or you're going to go into also, you'll just be a cog in a wheel where you're basically easily replaced. So segmented kind of placement kind of thing, segregated, I mean, so that, they don't teach you too much. They just teach you how to spin the knob. And the third and final one is to work for the winning team, which is at the moment governments, which is pushing the whole Agenda 2030. And I actually sent you a link, right? So did you get a chance to check out that job listing I just sent you?
I just don't believe in these public sector jobs. They don't do anything for us.
Have you had a look at that job I sent you, the listing specifically? Because this is just one example I've noticed.
Okay, portfolio planners, is that it?
Yep. So this is a key role within the NZDF. So who is that? The New Zealand Defence Force, which is the military, right? And they are basically collaborating with government. They've partnered. So I'll read this out. I've got a lot of notes here. So basically, the role is to manage a portfolio, which I think is either data or assets. So you think about data, collecting data, which movements are becoming popular and what to suppress, kind of like your channel, you know how your channel's being suppressed, or assets. So things like what I call the FIRE industry, which is the finance, insurance, real estate industry. So real assets. So manage portfolios like that in what they call ICT, which is the information communication technology, which if you read it, it enables the delivery of military effect. What does that actually mean, right?
So where do I see this? This is in the portfolio planner?
Yeah, just do like Control F and look at search word military.
Let me see if I could do this while I'm streaming here. Okay, military effect. This is the key within the NZDF that sits within the best practices of portfolio management team to provide the professional planning analysis required to prioritize the investments in the ICT which enable delivery of military effect. The team is counting on to evolve to enable projects at a scale delivery.
So military effect, so military action, and I'll get to that in a minute. I'll start putting the connections together for you.
Sure.
Because I actually have a friend that works in the military, so I've got a bit of insight on that. I asked this friend, what is actually the main project for our New Zealand military for this year? Do you know what it is? It's plain and simple. It's the Vax push. That is the main project. Okay, so read on with this portfolio planner job description. So this role supports senior leaders, so that's people in Parliament, stakeholders, and governance committees, so government bodies. You'll notice in a lot of, if you're in New Zealand, just look at like Trade Me Jobs or Seek, you will notice a lot of new either Defence Force jobs being advertised, so the New Zealand Defence Force is expanding, or new government roles. And it's not roles for the New Zealand government. It's specifically for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister now has a new department. I've never really seen that before. So we all know that Jacinda's working in her own accord. So that makes a lot of sense. So if you read on, assess new initiatives and coordinate the processes required to describe and quantify them to support ongoing prioritization and balancing of portfolio. And again, the portfolio is, I believe, is either data or assets. Because at the moment, I fully believe that we're in the warfare art of siege. What is siege? So siege, I've quoted this before because, to prepare a nation for war, you must first instill in everyday life hatred, fear, racism, and divide. Siege. What does that mean? So you're basically, it's just the art of siege, right? It's the fact that you want to start disappearing certain sectors of your population, black vans kind of thing, disappear them. And you've seen that.
Secret police.
Exactly. So I think this collection of either data or assets is leading to that, because we know what's coming next. Agenda 21 is in place, especially with new laws passed this year in New Zealand, like Privacy Act revision of 2020, the COVID Act, which, gives more powers to the police and things. So what's next? They've placed that. I reckon they've ticked the box in terms of Agenda 21, and now they're moving on to the next phase, which is Agenda 2030, which is really funny because you might think, oh, I'm being negative or being conspiratorial, but I was warning people of Agenda 21 back in 2012, and people were making fun of me then. But people don't realize that I have seen. I'm not like a troll that's just reading forums on the internet. I've had some sort of security clearance in the UK because I was a waiter for a lot of these politicians like Bill and Hillary Clinton and all that sort of stuff.
Hill dog.
For example, I would do a fine dining event with 20 of these politicians. We would, as part of our security clearance, we had to give our passports and cell phones before entering the building. So that kind of thing. So, which is clever because, you can't take away any evidence from it. But I have definitely personally had my own security clearance in that sense. But if you're signing up for any of these new jobs, just remember that you're helping build the prison walls. That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of new jobs, a lot of people being, misplaced, a lot of industries closing. And, what do they have to do, right? They have to find a new job. Also, if you're in the underemployment or sort of kind of sector of employment, there's a lot of new agencies here now that pay minimum wage. But to be able to work at these places, you have to sign a clause which gives away your basically you have to wear masks and things like that to earn a paycheck. But all these people are replaceable. There's a lot, you have no idea. There's a lot of underemployment happening in New Zealand at the moment. Which is funny because
they're moving in. So they're moving in. So according to this, they're trying to create a shadow, not a shadow government, but a shadow arm of the government that's more about, policing freedom of speech, policing what you say on in your data, or what you say in social media, or what you have said in the past. I mean, this looks like it's more of a a dark co-op under, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I know exactly what you're saying. I think what you're trying to articulate there, Mike, is you have to remember that governments love contracting. They love contractors. It's the new mercenaries, right?
Well, you're never on the hook for anybody if you contract them.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that happening. So just watch out, because I'm not in the security clearance now, but I'd love to hear some whistleblowers start, telling the rest of us what's in it, what's going to happen in 2030, right?
Because this is a big deal.
That's where we're leaving.
I mean, they're actually. Let me go back to the article scan here. They're actually throwing something out there, and they're kind of making it so it's out of Wellington, right? And full-time position, is permanent.
Which is where the Beehive is, the government building.
Right. And you're going here, and like if you go into it and you read between the lines,
Yes, you
this
got
is
it.
this is wow. Like a guy like me, I'm going through things. I'd see this. What is this? Portfolio planner. Yeah, whatever, and keep going, right? But when you actually sit down and read what's involved in this and what they're asking you to be in charge of,
There's a lot of that. This is just one example, Mike, that I pulled randomly, like in the last 5 minutes. I didn't, I only have limited time myself, but this is just one example. I saw another job listing, for example, that it basically said, oh, New Zealand is in the world, first world exclusive in terms of our position with the outbreak at the moment. And we really want to continue that. And the only way to do that is for the government to make mandatory vaccines the next goal. That kind of thing. Like if you read between the lines of all these job listings, it gives you an idea of what's coming up in the next 2 years.
I know in England they're trying to pass that law, no jab, no job. And there's a lot of health that, the health sector in England right now is falling apart. They're trying to sell it to a private company. So I guess the socialized medicine that they have in, like, the healthcare in England is now trying to sell off to a private entity. Like, it's scary. And when people are not being allowed to, I think England's a little bit ahead right now of New Zealand. I think New Zealand is in the works of putting these things together. Right now in England, if you don't have a good reason to travel, they charge you £5,000.
And guess what? If you pay that fine, you're only fueling the agenda, right?
Right. But who's going to pay £5,000 for? That's a lot of money, man. That's like $6,200 US.
Well, have you ever heard of history, the debt prisons? That's going to happen again.
Oh, yeah. There was, I made a video back in 2016 about debt prisons. I was looking it up. I was looking at some of my old videos. Should debt prisons come back? And they're thinking of bringing debt prisons back. What have you heard, Ralphie? Tell us. Debt prisons.
Well, I haven't heard of anything, but it's obvious that history is repeating. You had debt prisons, you had political prisoners, this sort of thing. These are the traits of, this is not a democracy, right? These are the traits of, like a North Korea or a CCP country, right? Communist country, because you have your political prisoners, right? People that are whistleblowers or against the whole thing, or you had debt prisons because, it's obvious if you're not going to ride with the flow, you're just not whatchamacallit. You're not a priority. You're not essential. You're gonna join the black vans and disappear, right?
Okay, hold on. Mike Banks just brought up something in the comments that I think you need to hear. He says, you can see the police are slowly fading away into corruption. The civilians are left wondering what's going on.
Well, let's talk about defunding the police. Why is that a popular thing right now? Why is that a push? By defunding the police, you're basically making the stage for a new kind of enforcement. So private security, that sort of thing, right? So essentially, this is what, and I talk about the 1980s mob structure over and over again, but this is exactly what happened in New York City in the 1980s. Without police, without the normal cop in the corner to fight actual crime, not like, masks, enforcements and things like that, actual crime, like burglaries. Without those, you have lawlessness, right? So you have basically you basically have a mob takeover of a city. But rather than the 1980s mob takeover of New York City, you have now a mob takeover of the world.
That's crazy because they could pull the trigger or pull the plug or flick the switch on entire global regions if they have to.
Mike, I will tell you again, and I do a blog on ralphie.co.nz, what I heard from Bill Clinton himself. The purple elephant in the room back in 2012 is we have overpopulation, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just a numbers game, right? There is a certain percentage of people that is now deemed as non-essential. So they're trying to phase that out. So they're trying to get you the vax so that, you either don't live very long or, you that kind of thing, or pro-abortion and pro-this and pro-that, right? Just all to reduce the numbers because there's just not many of us needed anymore. That is the scary thing. I mean, think about all the shops that you go into now. We're all being replaced by robots.
Yeah, and self-driving vehicles and all
kiosks,
kinds of stuff.
self-driving kiosks, everything, right? So this is scary, guys. This is scary. But let's talk solutions. What's been successful in previous warfare, information warfare? Guerrilla tactics.
That's right.
And yeah. So this is what I mean. We need whistleblowers, and yep, stay anonymous. I'm actually going in the dark myself. I've taken all my social media because of that guerrilla info warfare tactic. I do not want my, basically, I love my anonymity, and people should value their privacy and anonymity as well. This movement needs a leaderless movement, right? But we all need to get into this now because it's getting tighter and tighter, man, and it will get to a point when our children will wake up in the world and they will not know any better.
That's scary. And we were talking with Peter earlier how people don't know what a cottage is nowadays, or how everybody had cottages back in the day, and how people moved out of their parents' home before they were 19, or they would be looked at funny. The next generation will wake up to not knowing anything, and that's the scary part.
Well, they'll wake up to a curated version of Web 5.0 as an example, right? Where the only information that is given to you is being filtrated already. So let's talk a bit of humor. I liken it to the fact that, like your cats, your domestic cats, they only see a certain frame or scale of the world. Like, for example, domestic cats don't know about the internet, right? It doesn't mean it doesn't. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right.
But see, the human version, the post-human version, or will wake up one day. I call it the subservient class, right? The domesticated class, the slave class, whatever you want to call it.
Surf class.
Surf class, yeah. We'll get to that point where they will not know any better. And not only that, but because, in the past, regimes have burnt books and things like that to clear history or reset history. The technology now is so ridiculous that they will predict you before you even get there. You know what I mean? They will
predictable programming. They'll think, isn't that from the movie with Tom Cruise, Minority Report?
Exactly. They will predict revolutions or thought crimes before. So this is what I mean. So you look at this job. Let's focus on this job, right? Portfolio planner. Every day, Joe will look past this and go, "Oh, cool, cushy government job, right?" You read between the lines, and the only way to, I know a few people in government roles. The only way to raise the ranks is to raise your security clearance, right? And as you go up the ranks, your security clearance gets higher and higher. They might do rituals and things like that, like, for example, caught you with underage escorts or something like that, just as you go up. And really, you're working for the dark side, man. This is good, this is evil. It's the breakdown of our morals. It's the takeover of the mob structure. It's happening over and over again, man. This is history. And the other thing, by the way, so here I am. I'm in a predicament. This is my second to last day in my job today of 7 years, corporate role. I'm in a predicament. Do I swing left and undervalue my skill set and work minimum wage for waitering agencies and things like that? But I have to wear masks, the sign of a slave, the muffle. Or do I swing right and do I work for the system? Take up a job in the fire industry, the finance, insurance, real estate industry. Have you ever played that game, Command and Conquer, Tiberium Sun?
No, I know of it, but no, I played a board game that's similar to it. Yes, but that's a video game.
It's warfare, right? It's real-time strategy warfare. You control tanks, you destroy the base. The main thing about any warfare is the Tiberium, which is the resources, the economy. What is fueling our current war structure today? It's oil. That's why you see the moving parts in the China Sea, the takeover of that section so they can get Papua Guinea oil. It's all about oil, right? It's all about resources.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, what else quickly? I've written a whole bunch of notes, but this is why you're not going to be short on callers, I reckon, because this is so many moving parts. But they're using countries like England, for example, stop the what's the movement there at the moment? Stop the
Kill the bill.
kill the bill. Yeah, they're using England, New Zealand as testing grounds because we're good testing grounds, man, because we're small countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, anyways, that's what's coming out in New Zealand. So,
Oh, that's perfect
you an
timing.
insight
I'm
what's
wrapping
gonna
up to my second hour so I can go to sleep.
Oh, okay.
That's perfect.
Well,
No,
yeah,
we're
thank
wrapping
you.
up our second hour, and that's good time to conclude with that. But it's we're going off on the negative note, but it's an eye-opener for everybody here.
Well, we have to because we can't sugarcoat this. I've told it many times, we're in the trenches. This is, if you actually go on the New Zealand Defence Force website, one of the few roles that you can get is information warfare. You know what I mean? We're really in the trenches here, right? And the solution to that is guerrilla warfare.
Whoa.
Let's do it.
All right, Ralphie, I appreciate you coming on, giving us an update. Means a lot to us.
And I will replay this episode on ralphie.co.nz 24/7 radio from New Zealand.
Perfect. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
It's a way to bypass, big tech censorship.
Of course. And do you have a PayPal for that thing for us to donate?
It's just on the main page. Look, it's not my main reason why I have the radio station.
No, well,
really,
but I actually want to fund it. I said I was going to do it on Mike in the Night, and I just totally forgot.
Oh, mate, look, you're part of the movement. What I want to say is we really need not just you and me, putting our funds back and forth, because we both know we love each other's work, right? But we need affluent people funding Mike in the Night, funding Ralphie 24/7, affluent people with government jobs, with defense jobs, but doing it secretly.
Right. The secret heroes.
Anonymous, yes. Not worrying about being rewarded, because what's gonna be the reward for this is for our kids to actually grow up
Exactly.
in a decent world, right? In a moralistic world that's loved by God.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the moment the evil is taking over.
Right.
But yeah, rather than that, I mean, look, don't feel obliged. But like I said, there's many listeners there now, and I'm talking to you, listening quietly. If you're in an affluent position, start giving. Financial giving is one way to fuel the resistance. But not just that, but your time, your own guerrilla tactics, right? Secret recordings, everything, all that sort of stuff. Do it all anonymous. There's plenty of ways to support the movement
cause,
other than monetary. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Ralphie. You take care.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Have a good night. Thanks. Bye.
Well, Ralphie had a few words to say here tonight, and that's really good. And we got. I'm just gonna type Peter Leeds. I want to thank him and we're going to get him on for the first 40 minutes on Mike in the Night. We're going to go over some news together. Peter Leeds going over some news headlines in the news and what's happening. Guys, what do you think of my Kim Jong-il haircut? Everyone was commenting on that today. Said I look like Kim Jong-il from North Korea. I hope not, but I mean, what are you going to do, right? All right, guys, it's Commonwealth for common folks. I want to thank everybody. Guys, if you want to pick up Peter's book, it's so worth the read. You can pick up a digital version of it. Here it is. Here's the link. There it is right there. I recommend everyone to read it either digitally. After you read 2 chapters of it, you'll be like, holy crap, I kind of see the backwards thinking to some of this and how we need to retrain our thoughts. And that's very, very important. And this is the music. You're hearing it. All right, I want to thank, obviously, Peter Leach for coming on the show tonight, Lord Humongous, Metal Gear Mark III, Mitch Madden, Order Divine Warrior, Linny Poo, we got Alan Howick, Spark Drive in the house. I haven't seen Spark Drive in a while. Papa Pissed, Layla, Scott, I got Scott, Ripley. Who else we got here? Moonlight, Margie, Layla. Yeah, we need to get Layla on. Layla, can you be available for the next Mike in the Night? We need to find out what the heck is going on. Scott Horeca, Mike Banks. Who else did I mention here? David K. One Neo. What else we got here? Just going through the Art and Soul. Papa Piste. It's kind of funny we have the same exact people. Ah, here we go. Dave K. That's a different one right there. Dave K. It's kind of funny how we just have the... Oh, Blunt News. I don't know if I said Margie O. Order Divine Warrior. Who else we got here? Nitin Phillip. Anyways, guys, it's getting tired. It's getting late. I want to thank everyone for being on the show. Don't forget to set your reminders for next week's Mike in the Night. This Saturday's Mike in the Night. Signing off. Take care. And if you can't take care, stay safe.